Hello and welcome to GPTV on the most beautiful Tuesday, 25th of June. My name's Philip Kingston.
And I'm Gary Peer.
Gary, we called it, didn't we?
We sure did.
We called it, viewers, 3 weeks ago.
Well,
we said the market. Well, we called it the fact that the market has started its bounce.
It's moving.
It
on the
hit
move.
rock bottom,
Exactly right.
and it's now on the move. We called it 3 weeks ago, and the industry came finally to the party last weekend with a 75% clearance rate. This time last year, Gary, the industry clearance was at 50%
There you go.
less.
Well, how about that? We're up 50%,
50%
from that.
improvement.
Our clearance rate, Philip?
79%. Of
can we get
course,
some-
we've smashed the industry.
Can we get some
clearance.
canned applause there, Philip? Thank you very much. Canned applause.
Towers up, towers down.
How good was that? A little moment in time. Now, Phil, much better than the week I was away, which was, a shocking week. So, of course, I had to come back from my holiday, get those clearance rates up again, Phil.
Well, Gary, when you're away, you do, I mean, as much as you don't do that much when you're here, one of the things that you do is you inject a certain energy into the business that when you do go away, we lament the loss of that energy that you bring.
It's good to be back with you, Phil. And I've got to say to you that, our word spreads around and this show spreads around. And there's a watcher of this show, Phil, who ran up to me on my golf on Friday. I do play golf on Friday.
Okay, so on Friday you played golf, and a person ran up to you.
Ran up to me in the car park.
In the car park.
In the car park. Now, I'm not kidding. In fact, can be strange to fiction. Someone runs up to the car park and says, "Have a look at Philip Kingston." I said, "What are you talking about?" Now, we'll show it on the screen, but have a look at this. So he's had a look here, and he said, "Philip Kingston now wears high heels." So with your keen eye for detail, can we see that on the screen? For your keen eye for detail, at the bottom there, it looks very much like you're wearing high heels. So he asked me how long you've been cross-dressing for. I said there's no shame in that. It's quite okay.
Do you know what, viewers?
Just be honest about it.
I've always loved Jimmy Choo. Jimmy Choo, I think it is.
Yeah.
And I'm partial.
So have you seen that? Has anyone called you on that?
Somebody else told me
Is that
that
right?
as well.
Is that right? Yeah. So how about that?
I chose to ignore it. Of course, you've chosen to bring it onto this hard-hitting show.
Of course.
And while you're talking about my stilettos and somebody coming up to you in the car park,
high heels, he said
we
you're
were
wearing.
both at a function on.
He said you're very high at the moment. You're very tall with those high heels. You've become a lot taller.
Viewers, nonsensical discussion.
You've got nice legs.
But there were two. We were at the same function on Sunday night, Gary, in Rupert Street in Collingwood.
Yes.
Rupert on Rupert. If you want to go to a great function centre, I presume they're open during the week for a coffee and a sandwich, maybe. What a great place. Anyway, we were both at the same function, and I had two people approach me.
Any party that's at Rupert on Rupert, just it gives you images of wondering what sort of party it is, isn't it?
I think
what is Rupert doing on Rupert?
Any party that you and I are at
it's
sends
already a
images
problem.
to the viewers. But two people came up to me. We had Rob, the psychiatrist, who tells me that he is a regular watcher of the show. So shout out to Rob, the psychiatrist. And then we also had somebody else came up to me to say, "Did you know Tom?" And we never use the surnames just in case they want their own. They want to be discreet. But Tom, who
Isn't Rob a doctor? Is he a psychiatrist?
Rob's a psychiatrist. But Tom is a he is a man that has factories right around the world. He manufactures and supplies spare car parts. So this guy's running a huge business.
Right.
He's also a very well-known philanthropist, Gary.
Oh, he collects stamps.
Philanthropist.
Yeah, I do that too. I also collect stamps.
He watches the show all the time. So I got to tell you guys, there's some highbrow people watching the show. Shout out to Rob. Shout out to Tom. Thanks for watching.
And shout out to our friend, I won't name, who came to the golf and is very concerned about you, although he's enjoying that extra height of yours, Phil. Talking about party, you're going to have an empty home soon because both of your boys are travelling. So it's going to be big parties on at the Kingston's place. What are we doing?
It may well be, Gary. We've got plenty of room. We've got plenty of room for entertaining. Don't wait for your invitation to the hard rocking party, because you know I'm not a party guy. I hate parties. I like being invited to parties, and I like going for a short period of time.
But you used to always start the conga line. You've become a bit disappointing as you got older, because you were the guy who started the conga line at every party.
I'm still happy to start the party, and I'm still happy to be the life of the party for the very short period of time.
You did have a low burnout rate, I remember that.
That I'm at the party, all explosive energy, no sustainability.
Talking about viewers, Julie, who watches in the bath, she has a three-legged dog, Phil, and one of the characters of Chris Lilly in Bad Boys, I think it's called, Bad Boys, is the show. There's a character called S Mouse who has a song about a three-legged dog. So I start singing this song, and she looks at me like I'm mad. So like YouTube's incredible because you can get anything on YouTube. So I get the song of the three-legged dog, show it to Julie, And that's it. The whole family's celebrating it. And there's advantages with the three-legged dog, Philip, because if you have to relieve yourself, you don't have to lift up your leg. You get a discount at the dog wash. There's lots of advantages and benefits about three-legged dogs. Did you ever have a three-legged dog in Cootabundra?
Viewers, did something during the week. Thought I'd share this with you.
We're not talking about three-legged dog.
My parents took Irene and I to the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra playing Mozart's Requiem.
Oh, you get a good sleep there. A good sleep there.
I did sleep through the
I'm
first
sure
part,
you did,
but all I can say is it was one of the most spectacular things I have ever seen. They had a choir.
It's like a general anaesthetic. You're just out the whole time.
They had 3 choirs, and there were 38 people in each choir.
Oh, that sounds like an expensive show.
I've counted the number of people on the stage.
Expensive.
There were over 214 people on the stage. Viewers, if you can get to the Mozart Requiem at Hamer Hall, and if you haven't been to Hamer Hall in recent times, have you been in recent times since they've renovated it?
I went and saw. Was that when Woodley? Because you saw Woodley, didn't you?
I didn't see it at Hamer Hall. No,
I thought it was.
But all I can say, viewers, we have got in Hamer Hall one of the world's best halls. It is unbelievable, and certainly when I was there I thought, you know what, this is as good as you would see anywhere in the world. In fact, I've been to listen to music in New York, and I don't reckon that the, what do they call it, it's not the Juilliard School, it's the Lincoln Center. I don't think the Lincoln Center has anything on Hamer Hall. Go Melbourne, best city of the best country of the world.
Melbourne
now,
football,
are we going to talk
about Melbourne Football Club?
Well, they did have a win. That was great.
So what is this? I mean, you go to the opera, you go to the ballet, and you go see that. But the truth is, you sleep in all of them. So
best and most expensive.
So what's that about?
Look, I've got to tell you, I go there and I see a lot of my clients.
Have you had a colonoscopy?
A lot of our.
Have you had a colonoscopy? Because I reckon that's the best sleep I ever had in my life. And it feels like you slept for days.
Do you know,
but it's only 10 minutes.
Show has gone to a completely different level, and it's not necessarily a positive level.
There's nothing wrong about a colonoscopy.
But you are just meandering this show all over the place. Gary, it's a real estate show. Let's talk about the weekend that was.
Back to property, Phil.
Gary Perrin Associates sold 7 out of 9 properties across the weekend.
Yes.
And here's the thing, viewers.
Nothing to do with the three-legged dog.
Most of the properties that we sold had multiple bidders.
They did.
So multiple bidders being 2. I know that sounds very basic, but we had some properties that had 4, 5, and in Alma Road, Gary, which is our most expensive sale for the weekend.
7,
we
Phil.
had
7. I counted them. 7.
For
and by the way, after you packed up your bag and went home and sat back on the couch, I went to the auction at Alexander Street.
You did, which Jeremy Rosen's
and
performed.
Jeremy Rosen, and I've got to tell you, there was 7 bidders there as well. So let's talk about some of those results, Philip.
Because, viewers, I want to make this point. We've called the market a number of weeks ago as being back. We're not saying that it's going to boom tomorrow, but we rang the bell 3 weeks ago and said, that's it, bottom of the market, it's only up from here. Of course, it could be a plateau, but ultimately what we're looking for is depth of buyer interest. And what we mean by that, it's one thing to get a property sold, Gary, but it's another thing when you can sell a property and have 4 or 5 other people at a date, at a time and date where they all came together to want to buy something. That's what we call depth of interest, depth of the market, and there's real market depth now.
Okay, I agree with you. I can see it.
Which is far more incisive than a whole speech about a 3-legged dog and a colonoscopy.
Exactly right. I wonder how that would go with a 3-legged dog. Phil, let's talk about Ackland Street, St Kilda, because Jeremy Rosen sold that one. It went for way more than we expected, and here's the happy vendor, Phil, on screen now.
So I just sold my apartment in St Kilda. I was super happy with the exemplary service that Michael and Jeremy provided, and woo!
So well three people bidding there, Gary. Interestingly, viewers, Ackland Street was on the declared on the market at $350,000,
which is at the top of the range,
and sold for $395,000.
There you go.
So that is almost 15% over the reserve.
Now, talking about that, Philip, I went to Ripley Street, Ripley Grove.
Go on,
believe it or not, I was there.
Yep.
Philip, another competitive auction sold for $885,000, Philip, well in excess of its range and its reserve, which was at the top of the range, I think around that 820 mark, thereabouts.
And Gary, great result, but have a look at us at the Grand Canyon. There we are. I just wanted to drop
What
that.
was that? Yeah.
I just wanted to drop that in. If
Oh.
you've never been to the Grand Canyon, you and I took a helicopter flight once over the Grand Canyon.
We did.
One of life's great experiences is to
Yep.
go to the Grand Canyon. If you haven't done it, viewers,
And the
save,
relevance-
save up and
the relevance to the show with that film.
well, I'm just trying to weave that into
We've
the
got a
show
dog, we've got a
somehow.
colonoscopy, and we've got a canyon.
We're not putting a photo up of you having a colonoscopy.
No.
Colonoscopy.
Let's not do that. Glen Eira Road, price.
Speaking of that, Gary,
Yes,
though,
Phil.
I did get in the mail just recently the
yes.
pack for
a
to
few years
do
for
the
bowel
to
cancer.
bowel cancer.
Are you doing that thing?
I have. I've done
Did you?
one, and they've just
I
sent
never
me.
did that
They've just
thing.
sent me a second one.
I probably should.
Viewers, cancer of the colon apparently has almost 100% success rate at being cured
That's
if
good news.
picked up very, very early.
Yep.
And apparently it has a very high death rate if they pick it up late. So,
Okay.
viewers, if you are getting that in the mail,
So what's your good news
whilst
today?
it sounds, I know it
I was
sounds
on a
little
happy-
bit,
I was
it
on a
sounds
happy
it
little
sounds a
trail.
little bit gross to have to
Yeah.
do this test,
Morose.
but you can get your head around it. It's far better than death.
Yeah, and if you need some help with it, Phil will come around because he knows what he's doing. Phil, Glen Eira Road, that sold particularly well as well.
Gary,
good competition.
that's
price
a-
undisclosed.
That's I won't say the price, but that's a real sign of the market because
Yep.
this was a two-storey town residence on Glen Eira Road, opposite the town hall.
Yep.
Now, I arrived at the auction. I think the auction there was at 11:30. I got there at about 20 past 11, and
did.
already the sign I know of a good auction is how far I have to park
It's always a good
away
sign, yeah.
from the property.
or how much the fine is when you park illegally close to the property
Yes.
because you couldn't find a spot.
True,
proper spot.
true, and that's not even tax deductible. But I got there at 20 past 11, couldn't get a car park anyway, had to park across the road in the council car park. But we had, how many bidders there? I think we had 5 or 6
I don't
bidders
know. It was
there.
at another auction in Murray Street, Philip.
In
Sadly,
fact,
we didn't
I
sell.
didn't even get a chance.
But we
either.
will.
I didn't get a chance at Alma Road, and
Yep.
I didn't get a chance at Glen Eira Road
Yep.
to even put in a vendor bid.
no.
And that's another sign of the market when
Yep.
you call for bidding and
just goes
people
off.
just come straight out of the
Goes
woodwork.
off.
You know there's some energy in
Like
the
a
marketplace.
prawn in the sun, Phil, just bang.
Bucket of prawns in the sun, Gary.
Alma Road, Philip, let's talk about that briefly. Now, while you're inside
Price
doing
is
the...
undisclosed too.
it is, I know that. But while you're inside running the auction, doing such a great job, I was outside just watching, getting a feel.
watching.
And look, there's got a bit of footage of these kids playing with our flag. Have you seen that? Because the
haven't.
board has multiple uses. So
Right.
let me show you this footage. We've got some kids playing with the flag and, of course, having a wonderful time. And then, of course, it all goes belly up when someone gets hurt. Anyway, we're going to get sued for $8.6 million for that little kid and his family.
We do have,
but
that's what
okay.
insurance is for, Gary.
Exactly right. Loss of enjoyment of life. Families after us. It's
Yep.
all over. Philip, well done with that auction.
Death by flag insertion in the eye socket.
Exactly right.
Yep.
All flags on
Poor-
all
poor
boards
kid.
are all
I
over. That's
I
it.
heard he was a lovely kid.
Yeah,
but,
he was
you
a
know,
gorgeous kid.
Hey, rest in peace.
Yeah, exactly right.
In pieces.
Yeah, he's fine, Phil. And Alma Road was a great auction. Lots of bidders, lots of fun.
Can't say
you
the
were
price.
in great form.
Can't say the price.
What about the
but
buyer?
sold hundreds of thousands of dollars
well, we know that.
over the reserve
It went
price.
massively over.
Hundreds
Can
of
we show a
thousands.
little bit of footage of the
I
end of the
think we
hammer
can.
coming down?
I
Let's do
think
that.
Going, sold, ladies and thank you for
So, Gary, you haven't seen yet
Yeah.
the underbidder, and as much as I would like to put this on screen now, it is the most politically incorrect thing. The underbidder from that auction
Yes.
placed on Instagram, I don't know how we found it, but on Instagram they made a comment about the auction. Now, this is the most politically incorrect thing I've ever said. It had nothing to do with Gary Peer and Associates, but it was the
You've
buyer.
got to preface everything now, don't you?
Put this on Instagram. All I can say, viewers, if you see...
Are you going to show this?
No, I can't.
No.
I
Well,
can't.
are you going to say what it is?
I can't. But all I can say is...
what's the point of even talking
Because
about it?
when you see me
It's just
next...
nonsense.
When you see me next,
In your
viewers,
high heels?
ask me to show you the Instagram
Can you show it to me?
post. I'll show
thank you.
it to you.
Okay.
I showed my family, and my family, they're a little bit left-leaning.
some of them are
I'm
a
the
bit-
counterbalance,
yeah,
but they're a little bit left-leaning,
Yeah.
and they're all absolutely speechless, but in laughter about this person's post.
Fair enough. Okay, well, there you go.
Stop me in the street, it'll be worth it.
Interesting things going on. Anyway, congratulations to the buyer. There was a real energy in that auction, and a lot of fun, a lot of laughter.
And one of the funniest
of
parts.
course, yes.
One of the funniest
The
parts.
Paris end of
is
Alma Road.
We call Alma Road between Kooyong Road and Dandenong Road
Yes.
the Paris end of Alma
do,
Road.
and joke
there's
about
the,
it.
There's the Paris end of Collins Street.
That's right.
There's now the Paris end of Alma Road. And we've been
Yep.
saying the Paris end of Alma Road for a number of years. So I go through the whole Paris end of Alma Road thing, and the front door's open. We're holding it inside, and I point out the front door and I say, ladies and gentlemen, there outside, watch the bicycles with men in berets,
with baguettes. That's right. Yes,
that have just picked them up from Glenferrie
We're
Road. Watch
laughing
them
about it.
silently. Watch them go past outside, and then the second bidder. Opens the bidding, or she comes into the bidding with the most magnificent French accent.
That's
so
right.
we've got a full-on French person.
Absolutely.
Look, it was funny.
And of course, it was very funny. And Philip said, and you say to her, well, are you French? And she goes, yeah, yes, I am. So then you start speaking to her in French with words that don't make any sense. So he starts making this sentence in French, which probably means, can I see your goat or something like that? And anyway, it was just ridiculous.
Or your husband looks like a goat.
Exactly, something ridiculous. And of course, she just looks at you nervously and thinks, I want to get out of here. But actually, she did stop bidding many times, but because of your charm towards the French women, Philip, she kept bidding and off it went. So that was
Do you know
great.
what? French women really understand me,
They
Gary.
do. They love. They've always been. I mean, they've always come into the office asking after you, trying to disguise their accent. I'm getting sick of it, actually. Phil,
Have you ever read that book? There's a book something like Why Don't French Women Get Fat?
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, that's politically correct, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wonderful book that is.
I think it's been taken off the shelf.
Yeah, I'm sure Germaine Greer would like that one. Philip, let's talk about about Germaine Greer, because she was, when I grew up, she was like the controversial figure, Philip, and everything
she's
controversial.
still
was,
controversial,
she is, isn't
Gary.
she? Yeah, she's got some interesting things to say.
Yep.
Philip, Alexander
of course,
Street.
read her book. What was her famous book?
Her famous book was The Eunuch or something, wasn't it?
The Female Eunuch?
Was it? I don't know, I can't remember.
That's to show viewers. This is like this. You know Jennifer
going back in
Byrne.
time.
Jennifer Byrne on which is Andrew Denton's.
60 Minutes, Jennifer Byrne. That one?
Yeah. So she has a show. I think it's called The Book Club.
Yep.
I think the viewers are waiting for the Gary Peer and Associates Book Club.
I tell you what, there could be some
GPTV edition.
When we retire,
stay tuned.
There will be some good books. Hey, someone asked me last night, when are you going to retire? And I said, have you seen what my wife spends? Have you seen how much this centre costs us? I said, I'm not going anywhere.
Do you know what somebody said also to me?
Ridiculous.
I mean, I love that because there's a lot of time. I mean,
insane as
people
that.
ask you that all the time because they kind of look at you and go,
How can I keep working with him? I suppose you're right.
How are you still standing?
That's exactly
but
right.
somebody said to me, "Oh, Philip, you know, you've got a good business and rah rah rah, but ultimately, what's your exit strategy?"
Yeah.
Right. This is the thing. This is
Yes,
a millennial
death,
thing.
Death would be one of them.
Well, that
Death
was
would be
exactly
one,
my
yeah.
answer.
Is
My
that right?
answer was death.
Yeah, that's a great strategy.
that will be my exit
it's
strategy.
always a good way to get
But
out.
Have you noticed, Gary, that millennials they don't start businesses with an eye on longevity. They start a business immediately with an exit strategy. So they
That's
go.
what I found in San Francisco, Philip. The trip
it's all
was
about
worth it.
it's all about the exit strategy.
And they
Gary.
haven't
It's
even
not about
entered.
the journey. It's not about profits. It's about
Exactly right.
okay, we're starting this business, and there's
They
our exit
haven't
strategy.
entered yet.
Yeah.
And they're talking about exiting before they even enter. That is
You've got to
fair
have
what's
an
going-
enter strategy before you have an exit
Unbelievable.
strategy.
Is there something wrong with us? Are we missing the point?
These young people, Gary.
The
they're
young'uns
just-
today, eh?
Yeah. What do they know? They start a business, 15 minutes later, sell it for 25 million.
Exactly. What do they know? They could be staying around like us, still trying to pay off debt. Phil, let's talk about Alexander. Oh, and that big announcement that you made, or you said was happening, it's going to happen next week, by the way. So
big announcement coming
big,
this time next week.
Big show.
GPTV, we've got
some special guests coming on
announcement.
too.
Have we?
Phil. Well, yeah, don't worry about that.
All right.
Some special guests. Philip, Alexander Street was our last auction. Well done, sold for $651,000. We've got it on the screen behind us there, Philip. What a fantastic result! And you know, I always love it when a vendor's in tears, happy tears. Unlike some, maybe other experiences with other agents, but with us, thankfully, Philip, happy tears. And this was a vendor in happy tears because we were expecting somewhere in that sort of mid to high fives, low through to mid high fives, and we sold it for $651,000.
And Gary, this
7
is-
bidders.
this
Well
is-
done, Jeremy Rosens.
This is now the bridge climb. How good is the Sydney Harbour bridge climb?
I love it, Philip,
If you've
yeah.
never done the Sydney
Whoa,
Harbour
getting
bridge
a bit
climb,
vertigo here,
I've
Phil.
got to tell
So
you,
high up.
do it.
Yep.
It is. I'd actually say it's one of the most incredible.
It is.
Iconic.
And it's very
things you could
safe.
ever
It's
do.
ridiculously
Yeah,
safe. I mean, you
yeah.
couldn't jump from there and hurt yourself.
Well, you
really.
can't jump. They won't
exactly
allow
right.
you. They will not allow you to do the bridge climb and suicide.
Exactly right. It
It's
just
not-
doesn't
it's
come
not-
together.
not
So if
good-
that's going to
not
be
good
your
for
exit
business.
strategy, some of you young millennials, try something else. Hey, look, that's a big wrap. We've gone on too long. On Thursday, Phil, we're going to talk about the auctions coming up this weekend, of which I don't think there's that many, but we're going to review them on Thursday anyway. Philip, that's a big wrap on GPTV. Anything else to add?
No, I
We've talked
think
about
that's-
dogs, talked about Collins, talked about exits, we've talked about Germaine Greer. We've been everywhere.
I
We've been around the
actually
world
think,
here.
though, Gary, that we do need to bring this more back on track because I think we've got a bit out of hand. This episode has been the absolute Seinfeld episode, which is
Talking about nothing.
which is a show about nothing.
Too much
But I think
nonsense.
we do need to anchor
Anyone
it next
still
week.
watching?
We do need to anchor it next week in
Yeah.
some much more statistical information
Yeah.
about where this marketplace is
that's for
going.
sure.
Viewers,
That won't
thanks
happen.
for
Yeah.
watching. Do the bridge climb. Go to the Grand Canyon. Keep watching this show. Shout out to Rob. Shout out to Tom. Have a great week. I'm Philip Kingston.
I'm Gary Peer. We'll see you next week. Bye.